Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Kevin.
And today we're going to talk about Limbo. Getting straight into it, description for this game is uncertain of his sister's fate, a boy enters Limbo. Some background information on this game is it's developed by Playdead, and they're also known for developing another game called Inside.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Never heard of it?
No.
I have not played it either. But it came out after this game, so I'm guessing that they got to improve off of things from this one. So, kind of cool. And then I was reading like an interview or something that they did, and they called the style of play for this game Trial and Death, which I thought was a good description.
Very fitting.
Yeah, very fitting. More than trial and error. And there's a couple unique things about this game kind of compared to other games we've covered, or really just games in general. One is that there's no dialogue in the game at all, which is cool. It's interesting seeing that. It's also black and white, and it's like a 2D side-scroller kind of thing. So all of this really, I think, creates kind of an interesting aesthetic that's pretty different than a lot of games that I've played.
Yeah, it was really simple, too. I mean, I played it basically with one hand, on the arrow keys and the control. Like, that was the only buttons I used on my whole keyboard. I guess maybe it would have been different if you played it on a console. Did you play it on a console or did you? Okay.
Yeah, I was on my PS4, but I actually used the pad on the left or whatever of the controller. Yeah. Because I didn't want to fuck up my joysticks because it was just pushing right forever.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really it's funny. It's basically go left, right, up, down, jump.
And drag,
right?
Yeah, that was it.
Drag or push or whatever.
Right.
It was like that. That's about it. So you're pretty confined.
Yeah.
Like they set you up in a pretty confined space of you can basically only go forward. You can go backwards some, but mostly forward.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here's your limited range of options. Figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So I guess with this game too, it's more, I would say, puzzle than story. Definitely. Right. And so I've got in our, I don't know, quote unquote recap, it's kind of a recap of the puzzles or the things you encounter through the puzzles linearly, but I don't know, again, pretty different than a lot of other games that we've played.
Yeah, because how else do you reference what parts you were, if you want to talk about a certain part of the game, you kind of have to talk about what was happening or like what the challenge was. You can't say, oh, that part where he did, this, or this guy said this. It's just, you're kind of left up to what was happening on screen.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's what we got. So we'll kind of start in the beginning, kind of work our way through our varying puzzles and adversaries and such. So you wake up, the game starts, and you wake up in this dark forest, and you can basically only go forward. You can go backwards a little bit, but then you basically reach a point that's like, you've hit a wall, you're stuck, turn around.
Right.
So you start walking forward, and it's creepy from the get-go. Of course, it's black and white. It's kind of dark. You're in the woods, and you're a little kid walking. So you've already presented with this like eerie feeling, which was cool. At the beginning, as you go forward, at first you're kind of walking through this weird woods, and then you start encountering traps. There's like spikes in the ground that if you miss your jump, you'll get impaled.
It's kind of like the original Mario game. You're kind of taught everything you can do in that first little stretch.
Right.
I mean, like, there's other stuff throughout the game, but in that first stretch, it's like, you're going to need to jump over traps. There are traps you're going to have to worry about. And then I realized it's kind of like, you die so many times to kind of learn the lessons in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you just get all these gruesome and ultimately, I thought kind of funny deaths because it was so frequent.
Yeah.
It felt funny.
Yeah, well, especially, I mean, the next part here, you're kind of walking, and there's like this huge tree, and you kind of think you see like limbs moving, but it turns out to be like this gigantic spider.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I played this back when it first came out. I forget what year it came out. But yeah, that was kind of your first big lesson, was all of a sudden you have this gigantic spider leg that like stabs you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit, okay, now I know to watch out for that.
Right. Yeah, the traps keep getting more elaborate as you go. So, starting out, you've got spikes, you've got bear traps.
Right.
You find out you can't swim, so if the water is too tall, you drown.
Yeah.
You deal with that. then, as Kevin says, you go farther and you meet these giant spiders.
Yeah.
That look like trees, but they are very much not so.
Yeah.
Definitely a scary adversary.
Right.
I almost wish that they were in the story more because they were so scary. Like,
is it? I kind of wondered if it was just one spider that was chasing you.
Oh, maybe.
Because once you defeat that spider, you don't really see him anymore.
Right.
So I wondered if you were just kind of beating up on the same one.
Oh, that would make sense. And then later on, when it's the one-leg spider, it's still that one.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
If there's just one giant spider.
Yeah, because like by the time you kill that giant spider, that thing is like beat to hell.
Yeah.
There's like nothing left.
That's true. So you fight this giant spider, you keep going, and you find these kind of cocoons that have these glowing worms on them. And so if you walk under them, you get this glowing worm on your head.
Right.
And it makes you only able to go one direction. So that's kind of a funny wrinkle again with this. Once we met a spider, okay, it's different. Then you have this, and so, I can only go left. How can I find something to get this glowing worm off my head?
Yeah, and then you have to pass under these like worms in the ceiling or like in the, whatever's above you, and they kind of eat that glowing worm so that you can go the right direction again.
Right.
Or choose your own direction.
Yeah, which those felt kind of like similar to Mario, like those flowers that come out and like bite.
Right.
They're kind of like that because you're like, all right, I got to get close, but you can't bite me. I got to get to eat this worm.
Yeah, that. Speaking of the spider, that kind of reminded me. Dan and I have been watching Lord of the Rings recently, and it kind of reminded me of Shelob, and because I feel like there's a part where you're kind of jumping over webs and you're kind of like getting stuck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was just a nice little like they just loved that scene and they wanted to like put that in there or something.
No, yeah.
So it was that same feeling of like when Frodo gets stuck in the web and he's trying to like cut his way out, and you're this little kid that like this. You can see this giant spider coming in from the left side of the screen, and you're like, "Shit, jump faster, dude!"
Right? Yeah, he was like, "Fucking go!"
It had that same feeling. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then you do make your way through kind of these, I guess, nature adversaries, the monsters of sorts.
Right.
Then you encounter people, and you're like, "Oh, this will be nice," but no, they're trying to kill you too.
Yeah, and did you notice that? So the other people, so they look like kids, I think.
Yeah,
but they don't have glowing eyes like you. I don't know if that means anything or not.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I feel like you're chasing them because you're trying to figure out like. If you can like talk to them or figure out what's going on, but they just keep running off from you or like throwing shit at you, which is
right.
That's not fun.
Like setting like a bear trap to fall on you.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. Some shitty kids.
Mm-hmm. You encounter some where you have to like trick them. They have like blowguns.
Right.
And you have to get them to like come at you to shoot, miss. Then you like run away and they try to chase you and jump on spikes.
Right. Which is even more messed up.
Yeah. It's very weird. Like, you're interacting with people. You're like, all right, what the hell?
Yeah.
And too that again with this that the game has no dialogue. Here you thought there could be.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't. You're like,
right.
Okay, we don't talk. It gets affirmed. Then after this, you start to deal with climbing boxes and rising water levels. So it's kind of a how can I level up as the water is coming after me and doing it quick enough to not drown. Essentially.
Yeah, there was a lot of nuance in this part because if you didn't jump on a box in the right way, you could kind of like still fall off into the water, or if you didn't time something right, you just mess yourself up. I think there were several times where I figured out what I needed to do after I had pushed my boxes out of the way. So then I'd have to try and find a way to kill myself so that I could start that puzzle over again,
Right. That was something I really liked in this game that was helpful, is that there was a million checkpoints. It seemed like after every puzzle there was a checkpoint pretty much.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful because once you solved one, it wasn't like, oh, well, you're back to what you were doing 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, because there were several puzzles where I feel like I would get through it and then I'd be like, I would die right after, and I would be wondering, oh, is it going to put me like back again to that one? Because that one was really hard and I don't know if I can get through it again, or I don't know if I want to do it again. I might just like quit and come back later.
No, yeah, that was how I ended up playing a lot of the game. Was I would play until I got stuck, and then I'd try like, I don't know, 5 or 10 times.
Yeah.
And if it was too much, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to set it down.
Right.
And then I'd maybe come back, and if I was still stuck, then I'd just look up a walkthrough or something to just, okay, I'm not getting this puzzle.
Yeah, I think the ones that got me were really towards the end of the game. I think I did pretty well, pretty far, but there were just a couple at the end where I was like, I know there's something I need to do that I'm just not seeing, or that the game hasn't like pointed me to.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And also, I guess where we are here is the puzzles have gotten more elaborate. They're increasing your thinking or use of the environment, like we talked about. So first, it's just jumping over things. Then it switches to jumping over things and avoiding being attacked by things. And now it's like, okay, now you have to kind of use the environment to climb up or climb right or whatever you need to do. So
it's kind of pushing those elements that it showed you in the very first part. There's parts that you shouldn't jump, there's parts that you should jump, and timing is really important. Yeah. So it's not just jumping far enough, it's jumping at that right second, so that, for example, a saw doesn't, cut the box so that you can still jump up to the next level.
Yep.
And I think that's where that's how it was so fun, was it wasn't just platforms, but it was platforming with timing.
Yeah. Right, and as you said, it gets more complicated. They introduce levers that you'll pull that will either make like a conveyor belt almost move, or a circular saw start moving, or those ones were fun to get killed by. Yeah, they were really funny.
Did you have any? I remember I hit one saw where it sent my head like flying through the level. Oh, and it went like super far, and I was like, oh, I just saw like way more than I didn't know about. Right. Because my head went flying.
Yeah, it was funny. They just stay with your dead body. Yeah. So, I think I had one where it was where there was like a double adversary. So maybe it was like electricity in a saw or something like that. Okay. And so I got shocked and fell, but then the saw ran me over right after or something. It was like double dead.
It's like, it's so dark, it's kind of funny too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, not only did I get electrocuted, but my body just got, sliced in half.
I think it made it, like, dying almost funny in, like, the, like that Tom Cruise movie where he gets stuck.
Oh, yeah. Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow, yeah. Almost like that. Because when I saw that, I, like, didn't know what to expect. And then he gets stuck, and then they show him die, like, I don't know, 10 times in a row in different ways, and you're just laughing, and you're like, oh, okay. Like it's serious, but it's kind of funny because it's trying all this shit to see if it works.
Did you have any puzzles where you figured it out and you were on your way to completing it, and then you would mess up like the very last step?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that happen a couple times.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I run over here, I get the water going, I jump up on the thing, I jump up on the other thing, and then I miss like that last little step.
Right.
And then I got to go back and do it all over again.
Right. Your puzzle restarts. Yeah, I had that happen quite a bit. So you get your circular saws and the levers get introduced. You also get these pushing carts introduced along with the levers. So it's like put a thing on the cart, and then you'll like use that to go. Yeah. Then the environment changes a bit, and you end up encountering these giant gears that are moving, which was pretty cool. Like, it went from like nature to like...
It kind of gets like more industrial as it goes.
Yeah, it gets industrial, but it's weird because it's all really big. Right. They're still small.
Right.
So you climb these like giant gears where like you fit on like, I don't know, one little square of it and like climb it up.
Yeah. Kind
of thing. Which then, of course, this gets, I guess, additionally complicated because then you have your levers and stuff. So then you'll like send the gear left, climb up it for a second, but then turn it right as you jump to get up to the next level. Yeah. So they keep adding to what you know and making you learn how to use it in new ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Then after this, you run into electricity, like we mentioned, and moving runways. And with the electricity, so this, I think it first came up in a hotel sign.
Right.
And parts of the hotel sign were electricity, but then there were little parts that were like out. Yeah. So you had to like time your jump to land on it when it's not electrified and then be able to jump to the next thing before it turns back on. And so it flashes at like a, I don't know, 4-second timer or something like that. And it's like on, jump. Like,
it kind of taught you to wait to do stuff too. I feel like a lot of times you'd get through maybe like some levels or platforms that you'd have to jump through, and then you'd get to like the electricity thing. So if you were kind of on a roll, if you were like, okay, I did step 1, step 2, step 3, and then you jump on the hotel thing, you're like, shit, I got electrocuted. It kind of teaches you, you know, swing, 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 jump, 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 wait, and then you know, go through the rest of it.
Yeah, and figuring out that timing, because it's like if you jump when it's not electrified, it'll be electrified by the time you're there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I've got to figure out when it's still electrified, when I got to jump, because by the time I land, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of trial and error with that, especially. They also introduced these guns that are set up that are automated by sensing. So if you stand in front of it, it starts shooting like 2 seconds later.
Right.
And so you have to kind of maneuver around them. One of them, you get to shoot another one of its own guns to like.
That's always fun.
Let you bypass that level. So again, it's like making you use the environment for your advantage and continuing to think that way.
Yeah.
This then you get to probably this back couple puzzles.
Like the last bit of the game.
Yeah, we're all pretty complicated, and they like turned up the craziness on you.
Right.
So this next puzzle, you end up getting a gravity reverser.
Yep.
And so you're walking on the roof.
Yep.
And this is pretty crazy. You have some boxes around you that also gravitate up, and so you end up needing to maneuver moving your upside down boxes with the gravity around to climb up. Here,
this was the part where when the world kind of flipped, or when the gravity changed, your controls would change. Yeah. And that kind of like, it was fun because I had to kind of remember, okay, now my left key is jump and my up key is walk forward. So it kind of messed you up for a second, you know.
No, yeah, it did. It was and like, I want to go left, I do this.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like that was really good.
And then there's a saw behind me, so I really need to like remember what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They really threw everything at you at the end.
Yeah. So this one was probably the puzzle I got stuck on the most, because there's a box that's hidden off to the side.
Right.
And you have to like figure out how to get there. But like that one especially, some of the puzzles after this were still harder.
Yeah.
But this one took me a long time because it was a big elaborate puzzle too.
Right.
So it was like, okay, you do this part to set up this thing, then you do the other thing based off your setup.
Is this the part where you had to get the box to float kind of over that little hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing really telling you, hey, you need to go get that box now that you're up on the ceiling.
Right, because you have to end up...
I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, because you end up having to climb on like the elevator on top of itself to jump over there to move the box some.
Right.
And use gravity to like pull it out.
Yeah.
Because you have to like get it... That took me a little while too.
Yeah, same.
Getting it to float. So that one's pretty wild. Ultimately, you make it through that. Then you end up encountering these fans that you use to blow you through various traps, which this was pretty cool. Yeah. So you'd like jump in front of a fan, click it, it would blow you right. Then you'd be on a board with a saw coming towards you, which you'd need to use to then jump to like something that's electrified, but time it right. And like just death from all angles is there, and you're using these fans to kind of like maneuver through an area.
Yeah, and timing becomes super crucial. You can't make like one wrong move,
right?
Or you got to do it all over again.
Yeah. So that one that was pretty intense. And then your final puzzle you get to is like the culmination of everything, really. So
it throws all of it at you.
Yeah. So you have the upside down. You've got your gravity reversal going on. You've got a fan you've got to use, and then there's a couple ways you can die that are up there, too, in it.
There's a bunch of saws.
There's a bunch of saws. If you float to the top, you, like, die by hitting the roof.
Yeah.
You got, like, a lot of things. And what you ultimately need to do is jump while the gravity is, like, at a, 5-second interval or something like that. So you have to jump before the gravity expires, but so that it will stop when you land on the fan. You'll hit the fan, and it'll blow you through this wall.
Yeah. Which
was really hard to get down.
Yeah.
There were a lot where I would do the gravity wrong and you'd get killed by the ceiling, or you'd lose it right before you get there and fall on the ground and die.
Yeah, I think when I saw those directional arrows, which were kind of the switches to turn the fans on, I thought it was just kind of telling me which way to go. So I'd be like, okay, I can jump there, but I can't jump that far. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. But then I think it just came from, jumping and just like button mashing until that fan turned on.
Right.
Which I wonder if that's what they intended, if they wanted you to just die so many times that you're kind of like, oh, okay, I'm just going to try whatever and see what happens.
Yeah, I think so. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So ultimately you end up, once you get this last puzzle right, you blow yourself through this wall.
Yeah.
And you come up, you blast through the wall, and then you wake up in the forest. It looks like exactly like the beginning of the game.
Right, yeah.
And for a minute, I'm like, wait, did it start out? Like, is this where we are? Is this what happened?
Yeah. Because there's that moment where you kind of go through that wall and you're just kind of floating.
Right.
And then you land. And I didn't know if I had died again and I was going to have to redo it. Or if something had happened. But then, you're just kind of like playing with the buttons and you wake back up. And then you walk over and you see your sister.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, so at first it's like, okay, is this where it is? You wake up even the same way and you're like, did we restart? And then you walk over and you see your sister, like you said, and she's by this like tree house.
Yeah.
And then over.
Yeah.
Credits roll. It puts you in this strange spot. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
What? Did I die? Did I not die?
Right.
How much of this was real or not real?
Right.
Like,
so what did you take the ending to mean? Because I think, did you end up reading any of the, like, what other people thought online? I haven't.
I didn't particularly.
Okay.
The only stuff I really read was like interview type stuff,
Yeah.
and the creators at least like didn't tell you.
Yeah.
They kept it like kind of like we're not saying, or it doesn't mean anything, or that kind of answer.
Which I think is good because then you can put your own ending on it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's good because then people can do what they want.
Yeah.
I guess
I think. So you pointed out that the ending looks exactly like where you start at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that if you stick around after the credits of the game, you start back at the title screen, and it's the exact same scene where you see your sister, but where you two were standing, there's two like corpse piles with like the flies kind of flying around them.
Okay.
So I don't know if
I didn't see that.
okay. So I don't know if maybe that's where you both died. And you're just trying to find your sister, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that. I just thought it was interesting that it was the exact same part. Just now you see the two corpses and you kind of understand what they are.
Right. So, were you both always dead?
Right. And then, I mean, if it's limbo, if it's literally in between hell and heaven, then you're searching for your sister based on the synopsis. So then did you both go to limbo and you're both kind of lost and now you're going to heaven, or like...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess with that too, theoretically, you could only be dead, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess the body piles, though.
There's the body piles. I mean, I guess you could talk about how, I don't think your sister had the white eyes. I didn't notice.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the kids didn't. The other kids that you see in the game.
So you're probably the only person definitely in limbo then. Maybe that's what the white eyes mean?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder. But I think it's good that they don't say, yeah, here's exactly what happened. Yeah. Because then you're kind of able to put your own meaning on it. You're able to form your own story out of it.
Yeah, I think them keeping it ambiguous was
Yeah.
definitely the right way to do it, which is cool. Yeah. I guess probably what I thought with the dead bodies thing, that changes it, I think. But I think what I thought was that you were journeying through limbo and then you succeeded and then you got to go home or something like that. But if you're dead at the end, though, then did you make it, but then you just got killed off screen right afterwards? Yeah. Like, then that makes me think maybe you were always dead.
So I'm looking up a couple different theories of what people thought here, and some people are saying that they thought you died in a car accident because there's like flaming tires and breaking glass.
Oh.
It looks like some other people thought that maybe you guys fell out of the treehouse, since that's where the dead bodies are at the end of the game.
Oh, that would make sense.
Maybe that's where you both died. But then I guess that doesn't really explain, the hotel sign and like the clock kind of language that you see. So I think it's cool that they didn't tell you this is what it is. It's kind of, here's these elements, you string them together. How do you think? What do you think happened?
Right.
So that's cool that different people have different theories on what had happened.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good that it gives that, I guess, freedom to everyone. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the recap of what actually happens through the games and the type of stuff you encounter. So then just kind of we had some different general thoughts on the game at large. For me, definitely just how the game looks is super cool. And that's what piqued my interest in the first place. Like, I'd read people liked it, and I looked up some screenshots and watched, I don't know, the first 10 minutes of a walkthrough or something.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm buying this game.
Right.
Which I don't typically buy games based off of how they look, but this one, that was pretty convincing, and that it was a pretty cheap game. So I think those two together, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, this looks cool. It looks like something I'd want to play.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big pull. What got you to get it when you?
I mean, I remember the first time I played it, it was because my buddy had downloaded it on Xbox Live back when it came out, and it was kind of a word of mouth thing. I don't think it was a huge game when it came out, but I think it was kind of that thing where everybody's like, "Oh, have you seen this game Limbo? Have you played like?" Because the art style was really cool. Everything's really dark and it's in black and white, and it's not like you can make out any details of any of the characters or anything. All you see is the silhouette, right? Yeah, like you can't tell like the giant spider. You can't make out any markings or anything on that. All you can see really is the background, the forest and the bits and gears and stuff like that, and your character. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and I think playing it again, I think it was just, I had never really finished it the first time around, and, it's always fun to try these platformers where the developers put a little more thought into what happens.
Yeah.
And I remember when this game came out, it was kind of like there was a resurgence of side-scrollers coming out. There were like a bunch of them that just kind of came out of nowhere, and around that time, I feel like it was all about, 3D and first-person shooters and stuff like that. And this was kind of like, oh, cool, something a little different. Yeah. Something a little more low-key and fun rather than something you have to be engaged with for every second. It's not like Call of Duty, which I think was like the big game at the time.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's true. And I guess, too, probably compared to a lot of games, is that a lot of games are pretty long, either whether it's online and you play ongoingly, or a game that's big, and so you play a lot of this game. I think I finished in like 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Something like that, which is pretty nice. And too, like, since there's all these checkpoints, you could play for a half hour and be done with it. Or you could, if you're really good, you probably could play it all in one sitting.
Yeah, I do remember this story. I went to art school, and I remember in one of our classes, we had an assignment. We had to design like a title card for a movie or a book or something like that. And this guy had done one, and I forget what he called it, but man, he just totally ripped off the style of Limbo. And we all called him out on it. Because it's a bunch of nerdy illustration students, and, of course we're all going to play this game, and he's trying to pass it off as like, oh no, I don't even know what that is. But it's like, come on, man, we know.
Oh, no.
We know. It was, Yeah,
you couldn't pull that over on art students.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was the only thing that time that looked like that, too. So it's like, dude, we know what this is. You're not being real inventive or anything. You're just ripping off this really popular game. Nice one.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Like, you could probably fool non-art students with it back then. Like, because they maybe haven't played Limbo yet.
Yeah, like maybe if you showed your mom or something and she'd be like, oh, that's nice, honey. But
right.
You're not going to fool a bunch of 20-year-old dudes that are, like, into that kind of stuff.
Right, right. I feel like this would definitely be a game that, like, if you're in art school, they would be like, pick this game up also. Like,
yeah, I think that goes to show how unique and creative it looked.
Yeah.
That you could totally tell when somebody's ripping it off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Yeah.
Another thing, I guess this was kind of expressed in the beginning anyway, but it felt like playing a Super Nintendo game when we first started, like you brought up with Mario or Donkey Kong, that kind of thing. Like, okay, I've got to jump on this cart, and then I've got to jump off the cart to the next cart, or it felt really similar to that, which I haven't played any 2D side scrollers since then. Really.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I played a bunch when I had a Super Nintendo and stuff like that, but like.
Yeah, like I said, around the time that game came out, it was there was a bunch of side scrollers just coming out of nowhere.
Do you remember any of the names of them or ones that were particularly good?
I think like Super Meat Boy was another one that I think a lot of people really got into. I just remember a bunch of them coming out. I think there was one where it was a 2D side scroller, but then you could still kind of change your plane, so like the world would revolve and you'd still be side scrolling.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think people were getting really tired of 3D stuff all the time, and they wanted something maybe a little more nostalgic and a little more different.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I thought it was fun seeing the different creative ways to die. I think we talked a little bit about that at first, where I think the first thing you do is step on a bear trap.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even see that. You know, right. I just thought it was blades of grass.
Yeah. Yeah. They really kept wanting you up on how to do it and giving you gruesome deaths like the head rolls, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think the worst one was towards the end. There's a like a moving platform, and there's a string hanging from it that you kind of have to grab onto. And then if you don't jump off quickly enough, there's a bunch of spikes you just like ram yourself into.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so I think it did a good job of like keeping you from just thinking every puzzle was going to be the exact same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one really kept you on your toes, because getting on that string was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because that also had the reverse gravity thing, so you had to like reverse gravity to call the like log with a string to you.
Yeah.
But if you call
Jump
it too
down,
fast, it would like run into the wall and bounce way too quick. So you had to like get it super close and then like edge it towards you, going gravity, no gravity, gravity, no gravity. Jump to the string, get there, and then you're like, I made it. And you're really excited about that, but then you die right away if you don't jump off. You're like, because you're too busy celebrating, you just hit all the spikes.
Yeah, whoever made this game, they must be like a real pessimistic person. Because everything's just like, oh, you think you got this? Well, fuck you.
Guess what? Circular saw.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. I bet they had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah.
Now that's like, all right, they're going to think they've got it. But then look at this new element.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah, related. I did like to just all the evolution of all of those things, like, and letting you get competent enough to be able to add them. Like I feel like sometimes games will like try to go from 1 to 5 to 10 like really fast, and this one eased you into it really well.
Right.
You know that by the time that you're using zero gravity and like having to have walk upside down, but then have like items get called to you, and then like all those things, it was doable. Like it didn't feel impossible.
Yeah, they did a good job of adding elements in a good order, where it felt like every 5 or 10 puzzles there was some new little element, so you didn't feel like you were just solving the same puzzle over and over and over again. Right.
Yeah, it always felt new, and even when they were hard, a lot of them didn't feel like, I was like, well, I can't do this at all. Like, sometimes in games when you do this, you get stuck. And it's like, I'll never be able to solve this. Like, this puzzle's too hard, or I'll never be able to click the button quick enough, or, whatever, and you get stuck and quit. This never got there. Instead, it was like, I know how to do it, I just can't yet.
Right.
Or, whatever. Like, it felt that way, which was cool. And I guess for me, too, as, like, the parts where I'd watch walkthroughs for it, when I saw them do it, I'd be like, oh, duh. Or, okay, I can see how that makes sense. And then I could do it myself later. Whereas, in other games, when it's too hard like that, you watch the walkthrough and you're like, I still can't do that. Like, I'm still stuck. So I think that this did a really good job of making a challenging puzzle, but still doable and, like, escalating for you in a natural and good way.
You got to wonder about the first guy to beat this game. Like, how did you think to do that?
Yeah, that's true. I would have definitely quit at the zero gravity box part where you get the box that's hidden.
Yeah.
I would have stopped there because I would have been stuck.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a reference to go to,
I've
been like, well, I guess this is where my game ends. Like, I can't.
I think there was one especially where there's kind of a platform that's on chains, and you kind of have to drag it off to the side and then have the lever go down. I don't know if I would have figured that out on my own.
Yeah, I needed to.
I think I had to watch somebody else do it.
I had to watch someone use that too, because you drag like that ball right before that.
Yeah.
Because that was the part where I got stuck too, because I kept knocking the ball off because I didn't jump like in the middle to move it around or whatever. I have, I guess, one more general comment being is that I don't particularly like puzzles in games, but I did like this game quite a bit. Like, I'm not a natural puzzler person. Like, the most puzzles I probably have done have been in like Uncharted or something like that. And those are usually not terribly hard and they're spaced out.
I don't typically do puzzle games either. I like side scrollers and I like platforming, but puzzles typically just not the kind of game I gravitate towards.
Right.
Especially because, and I think one of the big things for Limbo was there was so much atmosphere and inherent story that I wasn't so focused on the puzzles as more what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that that's probably what made me like this more than a typical puzzle game.
Yeah.
For that is that like it looked so cool. That was fun. Dying all the time was fun. I think if it felt frustrating and annoying, or like if the checkpoints were way more spread out or something, I think I'd have a lot of issues potentially. But instead, that trial by death kind of thing was fine because it was like, it's kind of fun. Like I'm not that frustrated by it, and I'm only getting set back 30 seconds instead of 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if this game was just another Mario game and it didn't have that look and feel. I don't know if I'd think it was as memorable.
Right.
I would probably beat it and be like, oh, that was fun, but we wouldn't be talking about it right now.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree. I think because of that, it makes it very much so like a thing to talk about, which is cool. And so, yeah, I really like this, and I think it would make me want to try out other similar games or other...
definitely. I mean, knowing that the developer did another game, that's really cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Inside's probably worth checking out.
Yeah.
And then, and two, even a game that's maybe more puzzle heavy than I'm used to playing, because now having, I don't know, 3 hours or whatever of doing puzzles, my mind can think that way a little bit more than it could before this.
Right.
Because, as you played the game, for me, there were parts where I was like, okay, they probably want me to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which when I started, I didn't have that way of thinking even, so.
Yeah. It's kind of one of the, I wonder if this is one of the games that kind of came up in that whole lo-fi kind of look and feel that started popping up, where it became less about the best looking graphics and more about what kind of story can I tell and what sort of gameplay mechanics can I get out of it.
Yeah.
I think when we reviewed Journey, that's kind of the same thing. It's not, I mean, it looks amazing, but it's pretty simplistic. Right. And then the play style is pretty simplistic too. Again, you're just jumping from platform to platform. Mm-hmm. And I think there were a bunch of games that came out at this time, and I almost wonder if it was part of that thing of a lot of people were like, yeah, the game looks amazing, but it's boring. Everybody talks about like Crysis, and it's a cool looking game, but that's about it.
Okay.
If nobody cares about the story or anything, then nobody's really going to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Good reference too. If you guys don't know, we reviewed Journey a while ago on the podcast, so definitely check that out if you want. And I thought that when playing this is that there are definitely different games, but it was funny that this was almost like Dark Journey, and then we played Journey. Like playing it, I thought that I was like, that's funny that we talked about two games that have a lot of similar parts to them.
Yeah, they both kind of have the whole afterlife vibe. They both have sort of a spiritual aspect to them, and then it's all about atmosphere, right?
Right, and then these had such different atmospheres. With Journey, it was like sand. It was really bright.
Yeah.
And you even got to communicate, but with like clicks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
When you could occasionally do puzzles with people or whatever in Journey. But then this one, instead, you were alone, but it was dark and like that kind of thing. So it's kind of funny thinking about the contrast in both playing these.
Pretty lonely games, too. I mean, in Journey, I guess you could do multiplayer if you really, if you were online or whatever. But for the most part, I played it alone. Yeah,
I played it alone.
This one's the same thing again. You're just traveling alone.
Yeah, it's funny. Solitary through like color and light in that one, and then solitary through dark and So it's funny. And I guess you had monsters in both too.
Yeah,
a little bit. So it's like you had a lot of similar things, but one was like the aesthetic was light and peaceful seeming ish,
right?
And then this one was the opposite.
Dark, scary.
Don't
want to be here.
I wonder what it'd be like playing those games back to back, kind of thing, like. Getting that contrast, because they're both short games too.
Yeah, they're both pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty cool though. Do you have any other kind of general thoughts on the game?
I think that covers it for me.
Cool. we got a little bit of listener feedback from people on the game. H on Twitter wrote in and said it was an amazing game, so really liked Limbo. That's cool. Maria on Twitter wrote in, and she said, absolutely loved it. Its simplicity really amazed me. Also, the lack of dialogue made it really special. One of my favorite games for sure. Yeah, the lack of dialogue was really special, and I guess similar how we were talking about with Journey, but both wise, like, not having dialogue made it really interesting, because there were parts where you thought you could like dialogue, or this is what dialogue could look like, then it never happened, and you didn't get like a hint from like a wise man or something like that to like give you anything like.
And I think that's what makes it so much more of a personal game, is you kind of have to put your own meaning into it, because you're not being told what to think.
Yeah.
So I think your other senses maybe are more heightened to what you're seeing or hearing around you in the game.
Yeah.
You're not being told, well, this little kid's dead and he's hunting for his little sister, and he died this way. You're having to kind of piece together your own stuff of, oh, I saw this little element, I wonder if this plays into it, and oh, I heard this noise, does that mean this?
Right. Yeah, I guess, and with that too, I didn't even know there was a little sister thing until the end of the game.
Yeah.
And like I didn't read the description when I bought the game, so when I looked up the description on PlayStation, it said that, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Which is funny thinking about that, is that like I never do almost anything, buy games, see movies, whatever, typically based on how it looks or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Instead, I like do some reading and look into it. But then this one, instead, I saw it and I was like, people say it's cool, it looks cool, I'll buy it.
Right.
Like, it was that much. Just so the look was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. Next up, we got Dan on Twitter, who said, absolutely loved the game. It was so atmospheric and the ending was fantastic. And then he asked if we'd played Inside. Yeah, haven't played Inside, but definitely,
I will now.
Yeah, definitely putting it on to playlist for sure. And yeah, I agree with him too. I like the ending is left just kind of out there.
Yeah, I'd be curious, Dan, you're saying the ending was fantastic. I wonder what you kind of read into it versus us. I always like that when, if I see a movie that has sort of an ambiguous ending, I'm always asking people, what did you think happened?
Yeah.
Because people could get very different answers.
Yeah.
And still be right. And I think it's more fun to figure out the differences of, oh, that's cool that you thought that. It's not I'm right and you're wrong. That's cool that you saw that and I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you've got want to elaborate on that, Dan, let us know. We'd love to hear those thoughts. And then last up, we got Tomorrow Heart on Twitter, said incredible atmosphere. The game is just like really good the whole way through, but the ending is such a special whoa moment. And then I'd expressed that I hadn't played a game like Limbo, and then he'd responded back, and he said that there's actually kind of a whole subgenre of games like this at this point.
Okay.
Bringing up Inside, made by the same people, Little Nightmares, Ori and the Blind Forest. They're great short adventures with a lot of spirit and craftsmanship. You should check them out for more.
Yeah, so are these all games kind of put out by independent studios? Because they all seem like smaller studios. It's not like you've got Ubisoft putting out really thoughtful little adventures.
Right. I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Ori and the Blind Forest other than that it's not on PS4, because I looked it up and I think it's just on Steam.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of any of these other games.
I've heard of Little Nightmares. I've never watched it be played, but I've seen it on like lists that reference games that would probably be in the same like thing of Limbo, like Tomorrow Heart was saying. But I don't know much about it either. But I do know it's on PS4, so I am going to put it on my wish list.
Yeah, same. That's cool though that they're all sort of in this same vein of being quick and easy to digest, but then you can tell there's a lot of thought put into them.
Yeah. I think that's a really good thing about just having all these small studios like this.
Yeah.
Like, even if their lapse between games is a while, because I think that I don't remember the date that release times, but for some reason I feel like Limbo was like 2010.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And maybe I read that Inside was like 2016. So like that's quite a while. But if it's a small studio and they're just working on the one project and they put all of their stuff into it, like it makes sense that it could be really cool like this. Like this is their thing. They're not, divided interest or
Right.
Like Ubisoft, for example, or whatever. Like you said, like someone high up telling them what to do. Like they're making the game they want to make.
Yeah, it seems less deadline and performance and money based, and more we have this thing that we think is cool and we want to share it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, cool game suggestions though. Thanks for that. Yeah, I guess that wraps our episode up though. So if you've got thoughts on Limbo, what your interpretation of the ending is, or any of that other stuff, please write into us at TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed@gmail.com, or find us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. And if you'd like to, please rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. That would help a lot, and we'd really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you next time.